domestic production would bring down prices.
Increasing domestic production will not bring price.
All right, hold on. First of all, go back and watch Zach's video, because he said a lot of things that I wanted to say, but he does them a lot better. So pause this, go watch that, and then come back, because we're actually going to look at how that could possibly work and why it won't the way the other guy thinks and the way Zach says it will. The first question we have to ask, is the US a producer or a consumer on the global scale? Now, it can be argued that we are both, because we do export certain goods, but we also import certain goods. So the question is, what's the ratio of that? Do we export more or do we import more? The answer is, we are a consumer more so than we are a producer. It's because most of the stuff that we import are raw materials for production, merchandise, and petroleum, gas, and the like. We primarily export agricultural products, financial services, and Hollywood movies, because we're all about corporatocracy and distracting with entertainment. We're the largest importer of services and a net exporter of petroleum, because we buy the petroleum from other countries and refine them here inside of our own country. So while we do have the facilities to make more oils and gases from petroleum and stuff like that, we're not harvesting the resources from within our country. We're having to buy them from other countries. But this is kind of what Zach was saying, like this is a small thing. If we're just focusing on petroleum, that is a small thing. And if we focus on, harvesting the crude oil within our own borders, like the Gulf of Mexico or the Yellowstones, right? Then we're digging into our own resources, but also eating up kind of like our own natural land, which requires us to build the infrastructure. So we have to dedicate money to build the infrastructure, which will not be readily available and will take years of construction. That's also something that Zach was saying. But raw materials was another thing on that list. Thankfully, we do get roughly 75% of our iron in-house, mostly from Michigan, the Great Lakes. We also get some from Minnesota and some from Alabama and the Southwest. Hematite mostly, and hematite, magnetite are the most common ways that we get our iron from producing mines there. So technically we have some of the raw materials, but it's not enough to fit our needs. We're still importing roughly 25% of the raw iron that we use to process and make steel and other iron-based products. Now, to kind of explain what we mean by why is it cheaper to import products as compared to making them at home, is because no matter what, we'll never be able to beat out the prices of underpaid wages to people outside of the country by comparison to here in the US. Some of that is partially because some businesses are unethical and run sweatshops. The other part of that is other countries have a lower average housing cost, to where their average household income doesn't need to be as high as ours. It can be lower. For example, the average mortgage or house note, whatever, in say China is $800 in US dollars. By comparison, it's generally going to be a little bit more expensive here. I know I'm currently paying $2,000 in rent. So on top of building our own infrastructure to produce all these things that we're currently importing, we then have to employ people in order to make these things and train them up on how to do things efficiently with as few mistakes as possible, while still adhering to a federal minimum wage and current prices are wages that are higher than that, and people would rather go work at McDonald's than get paid $7.25 an hour to help bend steel or melt in furnaces. Because to even get anywhere close to what the cost would be for importing, we'd have to pay them less than minimum wage here in the States. And that kind of goes into what the other guy was saying, not Zach, the other guy, the red shirt guy, saying that having the producers in country will make them argue for lower prices. Lower prices aren't going to help you if the people that you're paying or the prices that you're going for in order to sell them and still make a profit is still more expensive than simply importing it. But that's just the logistics of the business, right? Where do tariffs come into play? And I've already said this in another video. Tariffs aren't paid by that foreign country that's selling us a product. They are reeling in the money. They're taking the money that the US company has promised to pay them in exchange for that good or in exchange for that service. The tariff doesn't hit the other company because they're owned and operated in a different country. We cannot tax or tariff them. What the government does is it places a tariff on the sale. And if you know anything about shopping at all, any tax on a sale is paid by the purchaser, which means the US company is the one that's going to pay that tariff. Once again, the company's not going to eat that 25 or 200, whatever Trump is saying now, tariff and sell its product. It's going to throw that off to the consumer that it is taking those raw resources or those materials and marking it up to resell it to make a profit, which means at the end of the day, you're going to spend more money